did you speak to a 13-year-old boy then?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know, okay?
Do you know it's wrong to speak to a 13-year-old boy?
Yeah, I'm good, but
Right, so you know. Do you know the legal age of consent?
Look, I don't want in trouble, please can I not get in trouble with this? I promise I won't do it again.
It's not as easy as that, I'm afraid.
Please promise I won't do it again.
It's not as easy as that.
Reoffenders, please they won't do it again.
Alright folks, welcome back to Glesga News. Right, okay, that degenerate you saw there, his name's Mark Sutherland. He was jailed following that sting operation. He was jailed for 2 years at Glasgow Sheriff Court last October after he sent explicit pictures and made arrangements to meet a 13-year-old boy on the dating app Grindr. So the headline following that, I was quite surprised to see, was Scottish Grindr pervert to appeal conviction, claiming, it says here, paedophile hunters, but we know they're just concerned parents, breached his human rights. Unbelievable, isn't it? He's using the Convention of Human Rights to try and escape. The UK's highest court has agreed to hear the appeal by Mark Sutherland, who was jailed for sending explicit pictures and arranging to meet a 13-year-old boy at Partick bus station. Now I did a video on that and my suspicions about who was behind the appeal, and it's on my YouTube channel. It's called Paedo Betrayal. So his legal team appealed, first of all anyway, his legal team appealed the conviction at the Court of Criminal Appeal in Edinburgh, but it was rejected by a panel of 3 judges. His lawyers argued that the evidence against him was obtained unlawfully and breached his human rights. They said that Mr Devine, and Mr Devine is part of the Concerned Parents group that gathered the evidence, he was a decoy. He was sitting on a profile, and this character contacted him via that. He says that Mr Devine was used as a covert human intelligence source by police without authorisation under the Regulations of Investigatory Powers Scotland Act, which allows public bodies to carry out undercover operations. But the law lord said their activities did not require official authorisation and were justified on public safety grounds. There you go. Delivering his judgment, the Lord Justice General Lord Carraway, sitting with Lord Brodie and Lord Malcolm, said, "Some may disapprove of the activities of paedophile hunter organisations. They may consider that they should be banned or regulated. As matters stand, they are free to carry out their own investigations into criminal behaviour and to report it to the police or directly to the Crown." However, senior police officers have said they have serious concerns over the activities of these vigilante groups. You see how they call them vigilante groups, you see? They're trying to demonise them. They wouldn't demonise Black Lives Matter, would they? Oh, you can pull that statue down, no worries, mate. I'll take a knee for you. See, I'm doing. Last year, Detective Superintendent Elaine Galbraith of Police Scotland urged the groups to let police do their job. Well, that's the problem. You're not doing your job. You've not got the resources to do your job, Elaine. It's understandable that people want to protect children from harm, but we would ask them not to take the law into their own hands. Aye, right, Elaine. One senior lawyer said the Supreme Court's ruling, and this is what's going to happen, he's lost the appeal. He lost the appeal at the Edinburgh Court of Appeal, and he's been given permission to move to the next stage, which is the Supreme Court of the UK, right? Absolutely ridiculous. One senior lawyer said the Supreme Court's ruling would have ramifications for all future cases involving evidence gathered by paedophile hunter groups. He said, "This is a test case and will decide this matter one way or another. Issue has been taken with the admissibility of this type of evidence in a number of cases, cases, and it's something that has caused concern among the legal fraternity. See where it's coming from? Right? Maybe the legal fraternity don't have any children. You see, because these concerned parent groups are there protecting their children as well. The Scottish Appeal Court have given their decision on it, and the Supreme Court can now give a definitive ruling. The test case at the Supreme Court involving a Glasgow man, Mark Sutherland, will decide whether evidence gathered by the vigilante groups can be used in future court prosecutions. And I don't call them vigilante groups, that's just scumbag, fake legacy media. So let's move on. And here's the result. Paedophile hunters do not violate privacy rights, court rules, as snared Glasgow man loses appeal. Mark Sutherland was convicted of attempting, well, we know that, he's a fucking degenerate. A convicted paedophile has lost a Supreme Court challenge over the use in criminal prosecutions of evidence gathered by paedophile hunter groups in covert sting operations. Yes, now that's a test case. That's it, went through the Court of Appeal in Edinburgh. It was rejected and it went to the Supreme Court. The UK's highest court ruled on Wednesday that the interests of children have priority over any interest a paedophile could have in being allowed to engage in criminal conduct. Of course it is, right? Mark Sutherland was convicted in August 2018 of attempting to communicate indecently with an older child and related offences after evidence collected by a paedophile hunter group was handed to police. He brought a Supreme Court challenge arguing that his right to a private life, enshrined in Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights, had been breached. What a cheek, eh? He's trying to get his human rights to supersede the human rights of a child that he's willing to abuse. It beggars belief that the lawyers would go that far, right? I'll get to that in a minute. The court was asked to rule on the issue of whether prosecutions based on evidence gathered in covert sting operations by paedophile hunter groups are compatible with a person's human rights. In the ruling, a panel of 5 justices unanimously dismissed Sutherland's appeal and said the public prosecutor was entitled to introduce evidence obtained by a decoy at Sutherland's trial to secure a conviction. Now you can't get a more definitive ruling than that, alright? So, judiciary, okay, just you cool your jets. They went on to say this indicates that there is no protection under Article 8 for the communications by the accused in this case. The interests of children have priority over any interest a paedophile could have in being allowed to engage in criminal conduct in issue here. Since the state has to deter offences against children in order to protect their rights, the public prosecutor was entitled to introduce the evidence from the decoy at the trial of the accused to try and secure a conviction. The court also found that Sutherland had no reasonable expectations of privacy. Of course, right, okay, of course, because a kid could go and report that to their parents. But anyway, it says here, Lord Sales said his communications were sent directly to the decoy. There was no prior relationship between the accused and the decoy from which an expectation of privacy could be said to arise. In addition, the accused believed he was communicating with a 13-year-old child, and it was foreseeable that a child of that age might share any worrying communication with an adult. Of course, so you're talking as a degenerate to a Wayne in real life, say, God forbid, and you can't expect to have privacy because the kids could get frightened and say, Mum, Dad, look at this. So you're saying that he's breached your human rights? That's absolute nonsense. And the lawyers that took that, and the solicitors and the legal aid establishment that paid for this, is an absolute fucking disgrace. And here we are, right? This is who we're getting to now. The PDSO and the Scottish Legal Aid Board. These are the people that took that case forward. The Scottish Legal Aid Board was responsible for setting up the PDSO. Our director reports to SLAB's the Chief Executive of Administrative Issues. Now, if you need a lawyer, right, this was set up with the Scottish office. If you need a lawyer and you can't afford one, legal aid, it goes through these people, right? It says here, we provide advice and representation in criminal cases. We work across Scotland and can help individuals who have a case calling in any Scottish court. Anyone, and here it is, anyone entitled to legal aid can use your publicly funded service. So publicly funded, right? This case has cost precious legal aid money, right? For these bampot solicitors who thought, oh, we'll just take this to the Court of Appeal in Edinburgh. That costs a lot of money. You've got to employ a QC to do that. So what did Sutherland's lawyers argue? Right? At a hearing in June, Sutherland's lawyers argued in court that his rights to a private life had been breached. Right, that's the QC that was taken. Do you know how much it costs for a QC? Is it £1,000 a day? His lawyer, Gordon Jackson QC, argued the police are aware that there are a number of hunter organisations operating in Scotland and the UK, and evidence submitted from these organisations has led to a number of criminal investigations and convictions. There is disquiet about the work of such groups, and police and prosecutors give them tacit encouragement, Mr. Jackson said. He argued that a huge number of cases were prosecuted on the basis of information from these organisations. So the word here is disquiet. Right? Whose calmness, whose peace has been disturbed? Is there anybody in particular? Anyway, so according to HM Inspector of Constabulary in Scotland, almost half of online grooming cases resulted from the activities of the so-called vigilante groups. The inspectorate said these groups are unregulated and untrained, and in its report in February 2020 said a more robust proactive capacity on the part of Police Scotland would reduce the opportunities for these groups to operate. So they're having behind the scenes talks about it. You see, you've got to understand that the jails are full of them, right? The Home Office, the Scottish Office, and the Scottish Justice Ministers, they'll be involved with this PDSO group. They'll be encouraging them to go for a test case to try and destroy any potential evidence that ordinary citizens can gather. Because, you know, the jails are full of paedophiles, and it's costing a fortune. You know, and basically every single one of them's at risk, because you know as well as I do, paedophiles are in every walk of life. They're in politics, they're in the police, they're in the judiciary, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're nurses, they're mechanics, whatever, bus drivers, you know. Anyway, so this is the group that caught the Sutherland character. So a big thanks to Groom Resisters Scotland, because without people like that, you know, bad things can happen to children. So if you like the content, hit the like button, share and subscribe, because that's all I've got to say about that.